All right, guys, some of you may have noticed that I returned your monster genetics labs. I started grading them and I realized that you guys might need a little bit more explanation on how this was supposed to be done. So for the first part here, you have your different alleles for all of these different traits, and you have to determine the genotype. And it says in the directions to do that by flipping a coin. So for example, on the first one, if I flipped the coin and I got heads, I'd put a big E. And if I got tails, I would put a little e. And then on the next one, maybe I got 2 tails, so I have 2 little r's. And then I have 2 heads, and I got 2 big G's, right? That's going to be a little bit different for everybody depending on what coin you flipped. The phenotype, though, is then the physical trait, and it says that in the directions. The observable physical characteristic of an individual are known as the phenotype. So if you got a big E and a little e, what you were supposed to have written here was what is its trait for eyes going to be. So since we have that capital letter in there, it's going to be the dominant trait, which is 2 small eyes. So here you would write 2 small eyes. For number 2, we have 2 lowercase letters, which is going to give us the recessive allele, which is white. So its eyes are going to be white. And then here we have 2 capitals giving us our dominant allele, so its skin color is going to be green. And this is how you were supposed to figure out how to draw your monster. So if you didn't do this part correctly, there's no way that you were able to draw your baby monster correctly. So that's one thing that some of you need to go back and change, okay? And there's a video today, both the Ed Puzzle and the quizzes today are review of this vocab so that you guys can hopefully be able to tell the difference between genotype and phenotype, and that you guys will hopefully be able to determine what the trait is based on the genotype, right? If it has 1 capital letter, even just 1 capital letter, it shows the dominant trait, not the recessive. For the questions, this first one is simply asking if there's a monster who's got a heterozygous genotype, so the big C and the little c, what could the parents have been? Remember now, it's going to need 2 parents. So for example, you can do a lot of trial and error. For example, if you're like, okay, what if they're both capital C parents? Capital C, homozygous dominant. And you fill in the box, and all you have is capital C's, you know that that can't possibly be the parent. But if you maybe do 2 heterozygous parents, big C, little c for each one, and you guys can use A's if it helps you tell the difference between the capitals and the lower cases better. Look here, we actually have 2 possibilities of having that child. So this is 1 parental cross. It'd be C, big C, little c times big C, little c would give you a big C, little c child. And you have to find 3 possible combinations of those, 3. And there are I think actually 4 combinations, if I remember correctly. Number 2, you guys seem to be getting, you need to explain. I would use a Punnett square to figure it out, and then use sentences to explain. How might it be possible for a baby monster to show traits that neither of the parents exhibit? So for example, if your baby monster has a straight tail, which was recessive, and the parents both have curly tails, how is that possible? You need to be able to explain that to me. Number 4, you guys are getting okay. And then number 5, a small monster colony has a large amount of monsters that have an abnormal amount of horns. So they're just giving an example of a kind of a weird trait, a trait that's maybe not so common in other places. And the question is just asking, why might this trait be so prevalent, which means so common in this colony? Okay, and so you guys can just brainstorm some ideas of why would this one little population, this one little colony of monsters have that trait so commonly. Come up with some ideas of why that might be true. All right, Remember to email me with questions as you go. Just guessing on these things is not going to help you learn them, okay? It's more important than ever that we read the directions also on all of our assignments, because the directions and the background information is actually going to give you the information you need to help you figure out what to do with the questions. And that's going to be true for all the assignments I give you. So make sure you're reading, please, and ask me questions. Hope you guys are doing okay.